Hello and welcome to tonight's show.
Welcome to Season 8, Episode 185 of On the Bench, the podcast for scale modelers by scale modelers, all about scale models. And this show is being brought to you by John Healy, Callum McGee and Owen Finnegan, who are our latest Patreon supporters. You too can be just like these fine gentlemen and help support the show simply going to www.patreon.com/on the bench and pledge any amount as little as $1 per month. Your contributions are greatly appreciated and help us with our production and hosting costs. And don't forget, of course, everybody who becomes a patron gets an OTB sticker. Got a great show lined up for you. We're going to be looking at So You Want to Be a Modeling YouTuber. We've got three very fine gentlemen who have a YouTube channel and build models, so we'll get into that very soon. But first, let's have a word from our wonderful sponsor, Scott Taylor.
Hi, I'm Scott, the creator and owner of the Scale Modeler Supply, Australia's largest manufacturer of hobby paints. Our premium airbrush-ready acrylic lacquer paints are designed specifically for use on plastics, with a comprehensive range covering all popular modelling subjects including military, aircraft, rail, auto, sci-fi and more. And not only that, but we also have a wide selection of essential hobby tools and now infinite colour and new range of water-based paints for miniatures. So to check out our range and to find your closest retailer, please visit our website at scalemodeler.com.au. So when quality matters, choose SMS Paints.
And hello, welcome to the show, and in the studio I've got Ian.
G'day Dave, g'day Julian, g'day listeners.
And of course Julian.
Yep, I'm here.
How are we, gentlemen?
Pretty good, thank you.
What's been happening?
Well, it's the Easter long weekend.
Yes.
Woohoo!
Well,
4 days off.
It's a long weekend for Australia anyway.
Yes.
So yeah, looking forward to me 4 days of relaxing. Might even get some bench time down.
Yes, that's the best thing about a long weekend.
Oh, it is 100%.
You see that long weekend coming and you think, oh, I can spend like all of the first day painting and then all the second day doing this and then...
Well, that's what you think, but it doesn't necessarily happen that way.
Well, you're always going to have like at least one social occasion in there that sort of takes you away out of the house.
Well, I've got a huge family event coming up on Sunday.
There you go.
Everybody's coming around, so there's my Sunday written off.
Yeah, that's right. But that's like, it's better than a normal weekend where...
Oh, yeah.
You know, you would write that weekend off anyway, and then you've only got one day left.
Yes.
I think every weekend should be a 4-day weekend, personally.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it?
And then Easter weekend's a full week off.
Yeah, just work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So
yeah.
That'd be nice.
That'd be all right, yeah, it'd be very good.
Oh.
Got the Nakajima Day float plane getting very close to painting stage.
Ooh, very nice.
Got
Progress.
bit of sanding to do on that and add some photo etch, and then I can undercoat it and start the painting process.
So when you say undercoat, are you priming now, or is it just a
yeah,
model?
Because it's got photo etch on, I'm going to prime it.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's got photo etch panels.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly just little access ports on the... there's a bit large panel on the bottom of the aircraft, and there's a few access ports on the floats.
Mm-hmm.
I've lost a part to the carpet monster.
I did too.
It's this tiny little hook that sits underneath the main float for the catapult. Can't find it. It's vanished. So I'll have to scratch build that one over the weekend. Don't see it being too hard. Just basically drill a hole and then just cut the angled shape around it.
I tell you what part I lost. So I threw up the photos of the 2 car models I finished.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, the blue one, I lost one of like the little indicators that go on the sides at the front.
Oh no!
But it's basically like an orange grain of rice by the time you've put like your clear orange on it. It's literally like a grain of rice. I'd painted like silver on the back side of it so that it's a bit reflective.
Yep.
And then I dropped it on the floor and
it's gone. Yep.
Gone. And after, you search for a certain amount of time and then you sort of give up and you're like, what am I going to do now?
Yep.
And so I got out the I tried something that I hadn't tried before. I did the Bondic UV glue type stuff, and I was like, I'm not going to try too hard at this. I'm just going to get the remaining indicator light, and I pressed it into some blue tack, peeled that out, and then put the Bondic stuff in there.
And it worked?
It was okay, and then I had to put after it dried and I pulled it out, I had to put some a layer of Bondic over the top so it was glossy, because it blue tack's not exactly.
Rather than use blue tack, use some. You got any of that green stuff at home?
Yeah, that'd be ideal, but I'm very lazy, so.
Because that green stuff would work great for something small like that.
Yeah, probably. I don't have any of that. The best I got is epoxy putty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't be bothered going for that and mixing all that up. I was already sort of heated in my head, because I was like, these are finishing touches on the model, and I'm like, I want to get this thing done now.
Yep, I know the feeling.
Yeah.
But I did purchase some kits over the week.
Oh, yeah. What'd you
get? What'd you get?
A couple of Edward General Motors Wildcats.
Yeah.
So I got the FM1 and the FM2 Wilder Cat, which I thought I couldn't get anymore, but luckily B&A got one in, and as soon as I saw it on their website, I pressed the main button. It's main. I'll have that one. And I picked up a couple of car kits.
Oh, yeah.
So I've got the new DDA collectibles XY and XW Australian GT Falcons.
Very nice.
In 1/24 scale.
1/24 scale. Very nice looking kits. Just waiting to get me paints. So,
what colour are you going to
the XW, I was originally going to do that in diamond white, and then I had another look, and I changed my mind. I'm going to go Ford electric blue.
I never saw too many of them white on the roads.
I've seen a few, but I think the electric blue one looks a lot nicer.
Yeah.
And the XY will just go the traditional vermilion fire.
Very nice.
So I bought some aftermarket bits for the XW, mainly because their bonnet pins are decals, which I'm not really keen on.
Nah.
So I'll luckily I'll just put the decals on and just use those as a guide. But I bought some aftermarket photo etch bonnet pins. I still got to figure out how I'm going to get, except they don't make the style of bonnet pins for the XY. So I'm going to have to see if anyone 3D prints those and then get those 3D printed.
So there's already aftermarket stuff for these particular kits floating around?
Yeah. I also bought tyre valves.
Wow.
Little turn tyre valves.
Seriously?
So you can put them onto the rims.
Yeah.
Just to make the rims look a little bit more swish.
Do you know which company does the aftermarket stuff for these particular
The
kits?
resin stuff, you mean?
Yeah.
No idea.
Okay.
No idea. But I know Scott from SMS did some 3D printed bonnet pins for his XW, so I might have to ask him, see if the people who do that do the ones for the XYs.
Okay.
Because they're a different style than what I could find on the photo etch set. Bought myself a new AK learning book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's volume 15 or something. It's painting animals. Thought,
that seems very much up your alley.
Yeah, I thought, painting animals. Some nice little hints and tips in there. So got that. A couple of photo etch sets. One from me Aichi Grace bomber, and one from me Syrian float plane. So I've been spending a bit more money.
Very good, very good. Julian.
So I finished 2 models. Those the Fiat 500 and the Skyline.
They came out.
Hey,
the
nice.
Fiat looks awesome, dude.
Yeah, it was a very quick build. It's a very half-assed build by my standards.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to spend forever polishing all those. It's not a very smooth shaped car, No,
it's an ugly car.
Yeah, there's too many nooks and crannies and things, especially on the back of it and around the windows, and it's weird. I'm not going to do that. Nah. I just wanted to get it. It was a palette cleanser.
Yeah,
that's what it was. And I, it successfully ticked the box. It's got really wonky wheels. The way the wheels go onto that kit is very sort of wonky. Not as wonky as the stupid Datsun that I bought. The Datsun. So I think it's in the US. It's a Datsun 510.
Right.
And over here we call it a Bluebird or whatever it is. In any case, that's an older Hasegawa kit, and it's not great. And I've realised that the wheels that come on it are really crap. So the tyres are actually more narrow than the the wheels they go onto.
Oh, they give you a set of cheese cutters.
Yeah, and so like the part of the like the actual what do you call it, the wheel hub type thing, the rim. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually thicker than the tire that goes onto it. Yep. And then the way they've done the attachment point for the wheel is the opposite to the way they do it now. Right. So most of them now, the wheel has a shaft on the back of it, and you just put it on into a recessed hole. But this one, they've done it the other way around. They've molded like what looks like a brake drum.
Yep.
And that's a cap that goes onto a cavity that holds the polycap. You know?
Yes, you understand what I mean.
And so instead of the polycap being on the car, it's held in the wheel.
Yep.
And so now any aftermarket wheels that I might want to put on it requires a significant amount of chopping and changing.
Yes, yes.
So I ordered some Albion alloy brass tube because they are really finicky about the inside and outside diameters, and I sized it perfectly for the shaft. So I'm just going to cut the shafts off the car, and then I'm going to glue those on in the right position, and then just slip that on, slip the wheel on.
Very good.
Yeah. I bought another kit.
Yes.
I bought
a car.
So when we came back from ACT, from the ACT show, turns out there's an American cars category, and I was like, I want to enter into that category, right? The problem is, I hate AMT car kits.
Yeah.
They are the worst kits.
They're freaking old, that's why.
Yeah, they're ancient. They're ancient and terrible. I have nothing but hatred for that level of like quality. So but
sometimes it's the only cat in the game, mate.
Yeah, I know. But I am not too fussy when it comes to a lot of muscle cars. I'm not that fussy. And Revell also does quite a few muscle cars. And so I bought one of their more recent releases, which is their
71 Boss 351 Mustang.
Yes, I'm glad you remember the name of it, because I just recognize it visually. I don't recognize it by name or year or anything like that. It's a Mustang. It's the Mustang like you would have seen in what's that movie? The Tarantino one. He brought out those two movies, Grindhouse.
Oh,
ones.
yeah.
Death Proof, is it?
Death Proof. That's
Yeah,
the one,
Death Proof. Yeah. So there's a brilliant yellow one in that car.
Are you going to paint it yellow?
No, I'm not. I'm going to go with green. So I've got two choices of green, because there's two types of green. There's the sort of brighter metallic green that's quite eye-catching, and then there's the classic darker green, which is, if you can remember, like Bullet.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, like the color they used.
Yeah, so I bought that color just to give myself the option. I'm not
what
sure
brand.
What brand? The Zero stuff.
Zero.
Yeah. I've got a near enough color for the other one, the brighter one. I just don't know which one I'm going to pick yet. But fortunately, like the kit comes with both the black and the silver lines that run down the side of it, so it doesn't matter which one I pick. I can do either. It's fine.
Oh, cool! Very cool.
Yeah, it's the only way I'm going to get halfway to a decent American muscle car kit, because oh my god, I'm not going to do it. You know. I got half excited last night because I found out that Revell's bringing out Stranger Things themed car kits.
All right.
So they're doing like the Z28 Camaro, but it's their old kit. I was like, I thought it was going to be a new toolkit.
No,
it's
you
like,
couldn't be that lucky.
I looked it up. It's dated to 1979.
Yeah, that's
kit.
old. That's an old kit.
Oh, I was so crestfallen.
I bet. What about you, Dave?
Oh, I've had quite a successful week, actually. I've purchased some cabinets for my build room, and
They look cool.
They mount up on the wall, and they're from IKEA, and they're designed to go in a kitchen type thing.
Yeah.
So it's actually
they're very shallow.
Yes.
So they don't stick out from the wall very far.
No, they don't.
They're almost like really large, heavy-duty shadow boxes.
Yes, that's a good way of looking at it. So I was a bit nervous about mounting them on the wall, but it all went swimmingly well, and I still need to buy another 2 just to finish it off, but I sort of ran out of money, so I couldn't buy all 5.
And the good thing is, like, on that wall where you're going to go up against on the right-hand side, that's a sliding door.
Yes.
For the cupboard.
For my stash cupboard, yeah.
So it doesn't interfere at all. Like if it was a swinging door, then
Yep.
you'd have a problem.
Yeah. And the beauty about it is I can now sit at my bench and look up and be inspired by the models I've built already.
Getting inspired by your own work.
Why not? And so there was that, and of course we've got lights for it and all that sort of junk as well. And just go to our Facebook page On Your Bench, and it'll you can see the pictures of it there. The other thing, I've purchased 3 kits this week. I've purchased the Airfix 148 scale Gannet. So I'm actually picking that up on Tuesday, which I'm really excited about.
You're going to build the one that's at Moorabbin Air Museum?
No.
Because that one's bent.
No. I want to build a Royal Australian Navy one. So next thing is to find some decals for the Royal Australian Navy.
Yep.
The other thing I purchased was a Airfix 176 scale Bloodhound. So
the classic Bloodhound kit.
Airfix have re-released it, so I managed to come across one of them. And also in the mail, I received a copy of the Atlas Agena, which Tony from Horizon Models has sent me, which is fantastic. But I couldn't wait for him for that to arrive, so I went and purchased another one. So I've now got 2 kits. So I've already started building one, and hopefully it should be finished in about another week or so.
Awesome.
And Kentucky Dave, I blame you. I was listening to their latest show, which is on Real Space, and Kentucky Dave spoke about a 172nd scale Chinese Changzhen 1D space launch vehicle, which I didn't know existed. So I jumped straight onto eBay and purchased that. I think it's about $35 Aussie. So that's on its way now. Can never have enough rockets, in my view.
And that's in 72nd scale,
It's
isn't
in 76. So it suits my scale that I'm building for Real Space. So hanging out for that one to arrive as well. I think that's pretty much it for me at the moment in regards to what I've been doing. And hopefully getting a bit more done this weekend after everybody's been and gone on Sunday.
Yep.
So I've got a whole day on Monday that I can sort of sit and do some building, which I'm looking forward to.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I was high off the, the satisfaction of finishing 2 models in succession. I've now started back on the Ferrari 250 GTO, because that's all painted, and I just needed to finish up the polishing, and then because I got halfway through the polishing, and then I sort of had to repaint some things and then polish again, and because I'd cut through,
suck the fun out of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was just sort of getting bogged down with too many kits, but now I'm on the opposite end. I'm high on finishing kits. So I'm like, could I finish another kit in this long weekend?
That'd be nice.
I mean,
go Julian.
I mean, I think I've got a lot of the sort of the non-body parts of the car, because that's the 2 halves of the car, right? You've got the bodywork, and then you've got everything else, like the wheels, the interior, the chassis, and all that stuff is mostly squared away. And once I've got all that together, I can just go together like that. So I just gotta polish it, paint chrome for the windows and stuff, and then I think things will come together very, very, very quickly.
Very cool.
And then I can start something new.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if it might be time for me to start a Gundam kit.
Yes, you've got a few now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, I know I just bought like 2 car kits, but I mean, I need to get onto that sooner or later. And I think if all thing, I tried to I think it was last weekend or the weekend before, I tried to get onto I was invited onto Built Sideways podcast, which is a very Gundam oriented podcast, and
cars, they're car mad like you.
Are they?
Well, partly, yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of overlap.
Great bunch of guys too, by the way.
There's a lot of overlap between cars and well, there's more overlap between cars and Gundams than there is with any other subjects, right?
Yes, which is kind of weird, but I don't understand.
Clean
that.
builds.
Well, I mean, well, not necessarily clean builds, but the brighter colors and things like that play into it, right?
Yeah.
There's there's more sort of color wheel stuff, whereas with military, it's like you paint it the correct color or you don't, right?
Exactly.
That's all there is
So,
to it.
were you on the show? Or?
I was supposed to be, but we had technical issues because I couldn't use their software. But I think I might just have to
Get their software.
bite the bullet and just use my phone to connect.
Yeah, that'd be the best way to do it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because
And it's a lot different, Julian, being on the other end of the microphone.
yeah, I'll be the guy remoting into to their podcast, I guess.
Yeah. Next, we need to congratulate Chris Meddings and the Sprue Cutters Union for their win in the Moosaroo Cup. Well
Congratulations,
done, Chris.
boys.
Yep. Round of applause.
Yes.
Very well done.
I was in talks with Chris very early on when we started that whole build, and he jumped right into it.
He did.
Super
straight
early.
out of the gate. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't want to be the guy that left things too late.
Like some other people.
Yeah, like me. Yeah, I mean he went in there with gusto and he smashed it.
Yeah, good on
He's-
you.
he knocked it out of the
Well-deserved
park.
win.
Yeah.
Mind you, all the builds were amazing.
Oh yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
They were so amazing.
And hats off to Mike from Hayseed. He did a fantastic build with it, sort of in the Mattel sort of box sort of style.
Yeah, that was
just
brilliant. Yeah,
it
that
was
was
just
such
genius.
a great idea.
Yeah.
The Hot Wheels.
Yeah,
style,
Hot Wheels
yeah.
style. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just absolutely
Complete with the
brilliant
red
concept.
around the rims.
Yeah. Brilliant concept, and he really pulled it off. And
Oh, speaking of red around the rims, so that blue car that I built,
Yep.
it's got
red-
not white walls.
Oh,
but
red wall tyres.
No, because that's a muscle car thing.
Yeah, that's what these Falcons have got. Red
Yeah.
wall tyres.
It's got white rings. Rings being plural, it's got 2 rings. It's not just like a white wall tire where it's got one big, broad ring around it. It's got 2 thin white rings that go around and they give you a decal for that. That has to go onto a rubber tire. So I messaged Will Pattinson and I said, is this just crap? Like, is this gonna actually work, or is this just hopeless? Is there another way around it? And he basically said, oh well, you could 3D print some replacement wheels. I'm like, yeah, that's not happening because my print is still stuffed.
Still down.
And he's like, well, yeah, fresh out of luck.
So what'd you do?
No, I just had to go without it. That's yet another reason why I'm not particularly a fan of that build.
Yep. Fully get it.
So like on one hand, it's satisfying because I finished 2 kits. On the other hand, I'm not that happy with either of them.
Yep.
To be honest.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah. But the Fiat was also for the Italian theme. So and it looks extremely Italian, doesn't it?
Oh, they do.
It's got Italian flag stripes all the way down it. So like
the epitome Italia.
yeah, all it needs is like a guy sitting in it with like his hand out the window doing the Italian like hand gesture thing, Speak of the hand.
So has anything caught your eyes? What's caught your eye?
I do know Edwards done a pre-release for the new P51B.
Yeah.
Dual boxing.
Oh.
Which has got some nice paint schemes. So that should be coming out shortly. Looking forward to getting some P51Bs.
Yes. Anything caught your eye, Julian? Because I've got something I'm really excited about.
Are you?
Yes.
Go for it, Dave.
The Kirov airship from the game Red Alert.
Command and Conquer Red
Command
Alert.
and Conquer Red Alert.
Hey?
That is supposedly being done by Border Models, I believe. And it's going to be in, I think it's 1/350 scale, or I don't know. I'm not really too sure about the scale. But I'm really, really excited about it. And if any, because Red Alert or Command and Conquer used to be one of my favourite games back in the day.
Yeah.
And I'm hanging out for this kit to sort of hit the shops. So I reckon it'll be awesome.
Those were great games.
They were. And you know what? They're redoing it so you can, the game's going to be available on your phone now as well. So, and just as a little sidebar,
wait, there's more.
Just a little sidebar, which is now sucking my time, is that World of Warships is now on that I can play it on my phone as well now. So that's sucking my time.
Oh no.
I should get a PC so I can sort of take it up again and start playing again.
You know, the Command and Conquer series had quite a few actors, like big name actors in it, right?
Yeah.
It had Tim Curry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It had Gina Carano. You know, of Mandalorian fame and also UFC, obviously. As well as a few others. The guy who plays Sulu on Star Trek. What's his name?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. And had
it's a Japanese name, so I can't remember what
great
it is.
music.
George Takei, you mean?
Yeah, George Takei.
Yeah.
Had some great music in it as well, and it was just a great game.
It was very sort of tongue in cheek, you know, very hammy acting.
Of course it was.
Well, why not?
Of course it was.
Anything else grab your eye, gents? That's pretty much.
Well, I mean, I've only got eyes on like Gundam and car kits at the moment. At the moment, so yeah, I mean, and I'm not paying attention really. I mean, there was a somewhat, like a month or so ago, like announcement from Hasegawa on a car kit that they were the Celica, but that's the only thing that I've heard of in recent times because there's not much in the way of car kits, I suppose.
All right, well, shall we dive into listener mail?
Yeah.
Because there's quite a few that actually popped in. And,
sure.
But before I do that, we need to also mention coming up in Sunday, the 21st of April, which is only about 3 weeks away. It's a Ballarat Scale Model Exhibition Display, which also includes a swap and sell. It's going to be held at the Eastwood Leisure Centre, 20 Eastwood Street, Ballarat. And we're going to be there. Pop in and have a look. So we're quite excited about that. That should be a nice little day trip for us up there to Ballarat and back, which is very cool. The next email comes in from Robert Fryzak. Is that his name? I think that's a very good pronunciation.
Fryzak.
Yeah, Fryzak. Robert, I hope that's the right pronunciation, but anyway. Robert writes in, howdy mates, long-time listener. First time I felt compelled to write in, although I have been tempted in the past. This time I couldn't resist. Loved episode 184 and your discussion on gold, silver, bronze versus 1, 2, 3. I am the vice president of the Butch O'Hare Club, which we know very well because Hector says hi.
Hi, Hector.
And I felt compelled to inform you that we have been doing gold, silver, bronze for well over a decade, if not longer. As hostess of Region 5 IPMS USA Regional this year, we informed the hierarchy at IPMS that we would prefer to continue using our Chicago rules for judging, which is essentially a gold, silver, bronze format. If you scroll down the contest page, you will see that we have worked out a very specific criteria for gold, silver, bronze, where each entrant is competing against a standard and not against any of the other models on the table. Well, that isn't entirely accurate since we do award best of plaques, I should say, for each of the major categories in the show, where we choose only from the gold medal winners for the best of model in that class. We find that this encourages modelers to attend and not have to worry about those master type builders who always seem to win. I also love it when you refer to ship models as being a different class of models, which normally takes weeks, months or years to build. While I agree with Julian that most of these long-winded builds are not continuous, but I somewhat disagree that they sit idle for eons in between occasionally working on them. Well, I did have to skip working on my ship for nearly a year. It was more about work and life rather than mojo or the desire to build. I truly missed not being able to be in the shop working during that time. And when I talk about a ship, I'm not referring to those clunky tin cans that putter around. I'm talking about the majestic wooden-hulled, canvas-driven masterpieces of the 17th and 18th century, like the Soil Real and the Sovereign of the Seas, HMS Victory, and the one that I've been working on for about 5 years, 4 years by Julian's definition, the USS Constitution. I've included a link to the bill pages I found on Fine Scale Magazine's forum pages. I might suggest working your way backwards to see current progress, but I went the route of a full tutorial describing in detail every step I took, including mistakes and successes. Anyway, love the podcast and all the others. Keeps me company while I'm building at night. As for the possums, get a big friggin' dog. I have 2 golden retrievers and had possums at one time. The male dog, Pirate, went toe-to-toe with the little bugger, and he hasn't been seen since. I'm assuming we're talking about the possum, not Pirate. And it can be considered as a natural way of dealing with the pests. Take care, Bob. Well, Bob, thank you very much for the email. I do have 2 dogs, but they're too small to sort of jump up and and get the possums who sit on the fence and sort of look down upon them and go, nya.
And the larger one's too friendly.
Yeah.
Yes, that's very true.
Would you ever build a sailing ship?
Yes.
One day.
Yes. I want to do one of those cutaway ones.
I don't want to do cutaway ones. Just the same reason I don't want to do cutaway models anytime, you know.
Yeah, cutaway one would be awesome.
And I'd rather not work in actual wood. I'd rather it be a plastic model.
No, wood. I'll do the wood.
Yeah, they're so expensive though, Dave.
Yeah, they are expensive.
Super expensive.
Cutaway are cheaper though. Keep way to start.
You know, I'm a big fan of the Hornblower miniseries.
Yep.
Big fan. So I would love to do like an Indefatigable.
Oh yeah.
Tell you a highly underrated movie that has ships of sail is Master and Commander.
Yeah, I've seen
I
that.
love
that was
that movie.
good.
So
that is
tons
a
of times.
highly underrated movie. It's one of my.
There's a rumour they're doing a second one.
Seriously,
I've heard a rumour. Yes.
Okay.
Well, everyone was sad when they didn't continue Hornblower.
Oh, I bet.
And even what's his name? Something. It's one of those bloody Irish names. I think it is like one of those Gaelic names.
Right.
The name of the actor. The main guy who plays Hornblower. He really did want to continue it and sort of looked. I think he looked into like trying to like get it done somehow, but it just didn't work out.
That's a shame.
And now he's too old.
Yep. Yes.
He's too old. Like he was pretty young when he started doing that series. So good. Have you seen it? Have you seen Hornblower?
I've seen 1 or 2 episodes. Yeah.
I'm guessing you're not a fan. It gets a lot better.
Does it?
Yeah, because like he starts off as a midshipman, right?
Yep.
But it goes all the way through to him being like in the actual like full scope of everything. He ends up becoming an admiral, fleet admiral, and then he retires from the Navy and becomes a politician.
Oh, well, I might have to sort of have a look at that.
Rewatch it.
But the series ends with him being I think a captain.
Right.
Like the TV series thing.
Our next email comes from Owen Finnegan, who writes
Is it Owen or is it Ian?
It's Owen.
Oh, okay, cool.
You're reading the Irish spelling.
Yep. I couldn't see you. We've got a speaker arm that's covering up half the screen.
In the email, it actually says it. Like,
Yep.
that's Owen for the non-Irish.
Yes.
That's the only reason why Dave got it right this time.
Oh, God bless you, Owen. I finally started listening to your podcast over the past week after hearing the Podfather on other shows. I must say I should have started my podcast journey with you guys a lot earlier. It's refreshing listening to a group of lads not taking the hobby too seriously and just listening and not just complaining about IPMS or people who upset you in social media. But hearing the possum story had me cracking up. I have about another 170 episodes to get through now, so I'll have a lot of essential listening while I slave away in work over the next few months. Thanks for a great show. That's Owen Finnegan.
Thanks, Owen.
And Owen also just recently became one of our Patreon supporters as well.
Even better.
Thanks very much.
Love it.
Michael Warren writes in, hello, I thoroughly enjoyed listening to your podcast, and may I add my thanks to the Falcon for all those updates about new kits. Wishing the Falcon well. Like many folk, I made kits as a kid, then started again at uni and am still tinkering. Aircraft, armour, ships, sci-fi, anything that looks fun. As I was unblocking a sink, why would you be unblocking a sink? As I was unblocking a sink and listening to this episode, something discussed about that assumed contract that if you enter a model competition, you expect it to be looked at and not just passed over, caught my attention. This happened to me with a well-known brand that shops and holds competitions. May or may not have the same name as Games Workshop. It was only an in-store competition, and the second time I was entering, I dropped by to put a figure in. The response I got was basically a decision and dismissal as soon as the figure saw the light of day. And I didn't place anywhere and couldn't get any feedback.
That's sucky.
It all left me feeling flat and was a knockback to my confidence at the time.
That's just a shitty run competition, in my opinion.
Well,
if they're going to treat the competitors like that.
These shops, they hold a monthly competition where it's just done something at a local level within the shop.
Yep.
And to hear that you got that sort of feedback, Michael, is very, very disappointing.
Yeah.
And,
you know, on this specifically, I can't remember if it was someone we had on this podcast not too long ago, or someone I was talking to, or something I was listening to. But the way it was explained to me was that Games Workshop run a loss on their stores, but it's all out there just to promote the hobby.
Yep.
And if you were to actually walk in there and said, "Oh, do you mind if I bring bring some friends and we'll have a game on your tables?" They'll say no. I mean, I know where I saw it now, and it's not that. It was on YouTube. It was a guy in the UK, and the UK being the home of Warhammer, and Games Workshop. He said that basically he was told, "No, we don't want you here with your friends playing. This is only to promote these products, and Games Workshop runs a loss on them. And the idea is to get people in the door, buy something, and then they're more likely to be a recurring customer that spends money,
right?
Whether it be online or otherwise."
Yep. Strange.
Yeah, and he contrasted that with the privately owned venues that are about wargaming. And then he said they're usually, he says, this is the thing, they're usually started by people who are very passionate about Warhammer, very passionate about wargaming, but the problem is, like, you walk in there and they're terrible salesmen. They don't know how to run a business. So you walk in there and you're like, is anyone here? Is anyone manning the desk? And then someone
busy playing games.
And he's been like the guy who owns and runs the place is too busy playing games. He's like, "Oh yeah, I guess I'll serve you now," kind of thing.
I think that there's one particular one in Melbourne that we've got called the House of War in Ringwood, and they've managed to
incorporate the good things of
everything.
Yeah.
Yes. So upstairs they have this a whole room upstairs with must be 8 different gaming tables, and downstairs is all the retail side of stuff, and they do it really, really well. And obviously it works because they've been there for years and years and years, and so it can work. Michael finishes off the email and says, "I hope the electric fence plan works. I can't wait to hear about the possums with bolt cutters or pliers trying to get through the electric fence. You're doing a great job. Excellent guest too, and I'm hoping that I've rambled on not too long for this to be read out. Best wishes from Michael."
Thank you, Michael.
Your possum situation's becoming like the Great Escape, except they're trying to break in rather than break out.
Well, I still haven't purchased the electric fence. So, as I said last episode, we're in autumn now, so the leaves are starting to fall. So I've decided to concede this part of the battle, and I'm going to steel myself for the purchase of the electric fence.
Yeah, so what you should do is like open up a pocket for them to go into and then close the pocket and annihilation.
I can't do that. They're protected
How about
species.
the Falaise pocket?
Yeah.
But for possums.
Hang on, but the Germans got out of the Falaise pocket. They
escaped. Not many.
Oh, one of them did.
Not as many.
It was one of the big failures of the Western Front. Okay, next one comes from Scott, and he writes, "Hey guys, Scott Daniel here from the UK. Love your podcast. Quick question. With Julian failing to submit his entry this year to Moosearoo Cup, do we need to just call it the Moose Cup this year? All the best. Keep up the great show, Scott."
Well, thank you for rubbing salt into my wounds.
No, we've got to keep it as a Moosearoo.
Yeah.
We've had a few people ask that question. What does it mean?
Yeah, and I actually wrote down. I sat down and explained. I think Zal Hass wrote in asking.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
I quite like the name of the cup.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's very organic. Like it's something that came about through like just this natural sort of.
Well, we're taking the piss out of the Canadians. Remember, out of
They were taking the piss out of us first, so we just threw it back.
Yes, that's true.
But I mean, like it's the kind of thing where you couldn't come up with like a creative name like that if you tried. It just came about organically. You know what I mean?
Fully agree.
Yeah, absolutely. No worries. Next one comes from Randy Riley, who writes in, "Hi there, guys. I'm a modeler from Florida, USA. Love the podcast. These questions are for Julian. I will be visiting Japan during the Shikazuwa.
Julian.
Shizuoka.
There you go. This year, could you please explain in more detail what happens during the trade days and exhibition days? I'm only going to be there one day, and I want to see about finding some great tools. Thanks, guys. Randy Riley."
Look, I was there for only one day, and I was only there for the day when, if you look at the event schedule, there'll be the last 2 days or something like that will be the days where, that are exhibition days, and you can, and I think they have like students or like display type stuff, something along those lines. You want to be there on those days because obviously there's more stuff to look at. If you're coming in from overseas, then you just need to provide your like ID, passport kind of stuff to show that you're an international attendee, and then you just go straight in almost
At the
really?
show, so
Yes.
you don't pay.
No, because like local people
Right.
who live in Japan have to like sort of like apply for it before they even get there.
Okay.
Or is it whereas if you're an import, you got a get free card sort of thing?
No, it's not necessarily. I can't remember if you have to pay or not, but it's basically like,
VIP treatment.
We there's not that many international visitors, so we may as well let them all in,
So you're
rather
talking,
than put up barriers for entry.
so you're talking about the trade day?
No,
Or-
this is
or
just
the whole
like
thing?
just the whole show, right?
Okay.
In general, right?
Buying tools?
Buying tools. See, I found like just going to Yodobashi Camera to have more tools than specifically at this show.
Yeah.
The show's more about things like there wasn't that, like, apart from like there's the big Tamiya stand, right, and they got like a part where you have to walk through and to buy all these kits from them, and then they've got a huge display area. But other than that, there's not that much. There were some tool places, but you'll find more tools in Yodobashi Camera and like local hobby stores than you will at the
So that'd
show.
be probably the better way of doing it. Buy your
Yeah.
tools elsewhere and then go to the show just to look at.
And most of those hobby stores are in the Akibara district?
The stores.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Akihabara. Yeah.
Akibara, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's Volks and Yodobashi Camera. And like Yodobashi Camera is like a major department store. So you'll find them in like almost every, like I think at least Tokyo and Osaka kind of thing. And, Volks is in Tokyo and Osaka.
Oh,
They
cool.
got a store in each one. I think the Osaka store is supposed to be their flagship store, but it's more or less the same, I
Yep.
think.
Well, I hope, Randy, that answers your questions. And
Yes.
write back in and let us know how you actually go. So that'd be fantastic. Tony from Horizon Models just quickly wrote in and says, "Your Regina build is looking great, that I might be the first person to complete one." I don't think so. I'm too much of a slow builder. And he's looking forward to catching us up again in Canberra.
Oh, cool.
And perhaps the IPMA show in Wollongong. Not too sure whether we're going to be able to get to that.
There's too much stuff on the calendar.
Oh, jeez.
It's a busy year.
No, it is. Very busy. Next one. Duncan Young wrote in, and he writes, "Hi, David and Julian. After listening to episode 184, I felt compelled to write in to provide my thoughts on discussion of judging and the concept of masterclass competition proposed. The interest in this topic stems from having just completed my first term as lead judge for Heritage Con last week, but also having participated in the judging at Nationals in 2022, AMPS last spring, and other shows in the past. And he...
Oh, very cool. Like, this guy's pretty well-rounded then.
Yeah.
He is.
On both sides of this sort of thing.
And he's written quite a lengthy email, which is I'd love to go through in the detail, but it's just very, very long. A couple of the key points that I want to sort of
Touch
read
on.
out. Yeah. So he writes from the perspective of a green lead judge, and he says, "I'll be honest, I had some anxiety going into the show this past weekend. Heritage Con is a well-attended event, and getting through the judging process is a key performance indicator for a well-run show. Ian Fraser, very nice chap, who recently stepped down as the show's lead judge, had more than a decade of experience leading the judging process for Heritage Con, as well as volunteering other shows. So it's really big shoes.
Yeah, I was going to
fill.
say, that's huge shoes to fill.
Yeah. And he steps through and he talks about a couple of points he touches on. So category management, he talks about how to sort of manage that side of it. Volunteers, which is another sort of issue. Time management as a judge and as a judging panel, how you're going to sort of set it all out and do it on the day. And we must remember that Heritage Con is a one-day show. And it's a huge show for a one-day show. I don't know why they're not sort of thinking about doing 2 days. And it's becoming extremely popular. And crowd management as well, which is another issue. Although I think Heritage Con has the issue where they have a limit on how many people can actually have in the venue because of, what's it called? Crowd limits because of fire code and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
On the personal front, I'm a big fan of the gold, silver, bronze system. I attended my first AMP show last year and was very impressed in the steps that were taken through the judging process to provide the modeler with constructive feedback, but also critique on the areas that they could improve on for their next build. I came away from that show with a very positive outlook on the hobby and the AMP system, and I'm looking forward to this year's AMP show, which is underway in a couple of weeks' time. At the end of the day, if all else fails, we could always go in the direction of more of a display-only show. We only go to shows to buy used kits anyway, right? Keep up the great work on the podcast. OTB is a favourite while listening to it on the bench. That's from Duncan, IPMS Hamilton in
Great
Ontario. P.S. It's good to know that Julian is going to be leading up the charge for next year's Moosaroo Cup. We'll either need to pitch him a softball or find another backbreaker. And again, while we're talking about IPMS Hamilton and Duncan from IPMS Hamilton, we need to thank the boys at IPMS Hamilton as well as Lightspeed for their ongoing support for the Moosaroo Cup.
Very true. Yeah.
So without
Thanks, guys.
It'd be a very difficult thing to sort of pull off.
Totally
So,
agree.
Fantastic. All right, that's it. I think I might have missed this one. Robert Perlman wrote in, "Hi guys, I really enjoy your podcast, and I wanted to suggest you change the name to the Plastic Possum Posse podcast based on all the recent marsupial mischief. Thanks very much, and keep up the great work." It's Rob Perlman from Vancouver, British Columbia. No, I don't think we're going to do that.
Speaking of marsupials,
Yes.
our new club venue
Yes.
has like 30 kangaroos out the front every time we show up there.
I know.
It's
awesome.
crazy. It's like 10 minutes from my house. I had no idea that there were that many kangaroos that close to where we live in
But
suburbia.
here's the thing. So, you talk to somebody overseas and they say, oh, yeah, no doubt you Aussies have got kangaroos everywhere and hopping down the street. Well, in this case, it's actually true.
It's weird. Like, you have to remember, like, where I am is a bit closer to the city to where we're recording from at Dave's place, right? Dave's place is surrounded by like former farmland, and there's nothing around for any, for miles around, right? But where I live is close to the city, and I've never seen a kangaroo anywhere near my place. You'd have to take, like, I would, if you ask me at my house, well, where can you find a kangaroo? I'd say you're going to have to drive like 30 minutes to an hour in some other direction before you could find even one. But no, I couldn't believe it. It's like, it was so bizarre. It'd be like, I don't know, someone, how would I put it? Someone in the burbs of New York or something, right? Yeah. Or and then they're like, and there's like a flock of like bald eagles just like went past their house, It's just like, what?
Okay, one last email in from Dave Lockhart, who writes, "Hi Dave, I hope this email finds you well. It's been a while since I've talked, but I always listen to you, Ian and Julian, on your weekly podcast, always my favourite model podcast. Please give Ian and Julian my regards, and
Thank you.
thank Julian for the shout out to me about my paint racks, which is in episode 182, on the back of my door. The racks work out very well. I have limited space and I take what I have. I'm more proud of my Tamiya paints with nicely coloured labels on the top of each bottle. This satisfies my OCD needs. I'm enjoying my modelling life outside of being IPMS USA president. I do miss the role very much, but the BS was a bit much and I needed to step back. I've actually been able to get some models built.
Oh, well done.
And I'll be at this year's National in Madison, and I heard you'll be there too, so I'm looking forward to seeing you. They say that one shouldn't enjoy another's trials, but I did find your Facebook posts about possums entertaining. I sure hope they are not your fortified walls. I'm sure they're not, but your fortified walls look something like Charlton Heston had in the movie Omega Man.
Omega Man?
You're not, what? That was a great movie.
That was a good
I don't know this movie.
Oh, Charlton Heston's awesome.
Yes.
I've enjoyed your personal post on Facebook. Not sure I recognise you with the long hair. By the way, the pictures of you with your wife Michelle showed that you are like me. You are married and married way above your pay scale.
Yes, he is.
That's from Dave Lockhart. And look, I'm really pleased that Dave is enjoying life outside of being IPMS president, because he had a bit of a rough trot there. And I'm glad he's able to sort of get some build time in now. So that's fantastic.
Well, I think it's a good idea that you give back to the hobby by participating in the more sort of organizational side of things once at least one point in your life, you know.
Yeah.
Even if it's just as a judge, you know.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
But it takes away from your modelling, so you got to give it up at some point.
Very true.
All right, we've got a fantastic interview coming up with 3 really excellent YouTubers. But before we dive into that, I just want to say that my experiment with washing a model in a dishwasher was highly successful.
Yeah, you picked the freaking one thing that would least amount of parts would break off a submarine.
Excuse me, it had very delicate periscopes.
So you put an aeroplane or something in there.
Well, all right then, I might do that if I can find an aeroplane to put in.
He doesn't have an aeroplane.
No, that's it.
Do you want to donate one of your aircraft, Ian?
No, I don't want to just have one of my aircraft destroyed.
Don't you have like an aircraft that you would have thrown away anyway? Like, because you're thinking of clearing out your cabinet?
I'd have to have a look.
It's really interesting because, like, if you have one with a closed canopy, you can't put that in it because there's going to be like a small hole somewhere.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And then the water will get trapped in there, and you'll never get it out again.
Yeah.
Well.
And then you'd forever have like fog inside it.
Well, not necessarily, because eventually the water will evaporate. And to be fair,
and leave film over everything.
I was considering putting a armour kit in there, but I thought I'll try the submarine first because I thought it was a bit of poetic sort of.
Well, it's what you're known for, subs, right?
Well, no.
Plus, it's going to be submerged in water.
Well, that's
yeah,
exactly
that part.
right.
Okay,
yes,
okay.
But I was really surprised that the decals came through fine. It all came through fine, and
well, as long as they're sealed, they should be fine, right?
Excuse me. Yes, they should be. I thought that the heat of the might melt the periscopes and that, but it didn't. And then after that, because that was so successful, I then grabbed a whole heap of my other submarines and just washed them under a tap because they're all dusty. And I have to say, the model that I put in the dishwasher came out a lot cleaner than the ones I just washed under a tap.
Wow, it's almost like something that's made to clean things.
Well, yes,
is better at cleaning things.
Yes. But I want to put a caveat. I'm not recommending this to everybody to try as a way of cleaning your models, but I'm just stating that it did actually work for me in this particular case.
Oh, good.
Okay, I think more testing is required.
Yeah.
What do you want me to test? How? What?
I don't know. Maybe you need something more fragile because that's what people want to see. People want to see the most fragile thing put in there.
What's a fragile kit? Give me an example.
One of your
fragile
ship models.
Kit.
Something with probably photo etch or antennas or something like that, right?
Yeah, okay. I think I've got a ship that I could do that with. Yep.
Well, we'll
also, remember, there's a lot of aircraft models out there, so they're very concerned about their antennas and things like that. And also, it's more broad, so it's more likely to get hit or knocked around by the water, right? Or I would assume.
Yes, and I don't know.
I saw that and I thought, immediately, the master models jig that we got. I thought that would be perfect. You could just tie tie your aircraft model down on that, and then throw that in the dishwasher.
Well, all right. I might do some more further sort of scientific studies, but I need an aircraft, and I don't think I've got one that I can use.
Yeah, because you're not much of an aircraft modeler.
No, I want to be a better one or more of an aircraft modeler, but I've got to, All right, I'll have a hunt around. I'll chuck an armor kit in there and see how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll do a ship one.
I think an armor kit will almost certainly be fine.
Yeah, I do too, yeah.
Unless it's got like
I
really
think
fragile
my main
tracks or
concern
something.
is like aerials, and
Photo
especially
etch.
with aircraft cockpits.
And photo etch on.
Yeah.
on-
Is it going to knock anything out in your cockpit? You're going to end up having a kit that when you it's going to rattle.
Yeah, well,
because something's
you
come
can hear it
loose.
sloshing around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a car that has had water trapped inside the doors?
yeah.
And you have to unplug it at the bottom and all the water comes out?
Yeah.
It's like that. Like I can imagine that with the fuselage on an aircraft model.
Yeah, drill a little hole somewhere and just let it drain out.
And you think you've got it all out. And then, one day you look at it in the cabin and you see like a little puddle underneath.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is that?
Yes. Yes.
All right, let's have a quick break and then we'll get into our fantastic interview with all the guys about YouTube. Back very shortly. And hello and welcome to the show. And in this particular part of the show, we've got a discussion on so you want to be a YouTube modeler. And to help facilitate that conversation, I've got 3 Aussie YouTubers who have joined us. The first one is Stuart.
Okay, so my name's Stuart. I'm obviously a YouTuber. My YouTube channel is Black Hat Scale Models, and I'm an armour enthusiast. So my channel focuses mainly around me building and doing tutorials on mostly 135 scale armour.
Very good. Of course, we're joined by our good friend Clayton. G'day, Clayton.
G'day, Dave. How are you, mate?
Good. So, just for anybody who's been living under a rock, what does Clayton do and what's the name of your channel?
The name of my channel is Workbench Hobbies. Obviously, what do I do? Well, I guess I'm an armour modeler at heart, but yeah, look, I'll have a crack at anything. If it's plastic, you have to stick it together and you have to paint it. I'll have a go at it. The YouTube channel's just over 12 months old, and I find myself on this podcast talking about YouTube channels.
And of course, in the studio, we're joined by Greg. G'day, Greg.
Thanks for inviting me along. Very nice of you.
Right.
Surprised anyone invited me along anywhere, actually. Well, I'm the geek from the Scale Model Geek, and I specifically specialise in sci-fi and fantasy. A lot of it 3D resin printing, and my channel is more about inspiration rather than tutorials.
Right. I thought it'd be great to get all 3 of you together in the one room so we can sort of discuss how you actually go about setting up a YouTube channel, what equipment you use, what inspiration you get, what's your actual process for doing individual sort of episodes. So let's first of all start off with, how do you actually decide and begin when you're going to want to be a YouTuber? I might throw to you first,
It normally
Stuart.
starts with, I think it normally starts with having a few drinks. Anyone who tells you otherwise is probably lying, I'm afraid, Dave.
My modelling gets better when I'm drunk.
Look, I think mine was a progression from something I was already doing on the side. Since probably the start of COVID, I've got a group of friends here I've been doing models with for many years, plus some newcomers, and there was a need for information. They wanted techniques, they wanted to know what I was doing and how I got results from what I was building. I was doing small little video clippets and sending them out to them, or doing a Zoom session. Really, it was a progression from that. I sat down and thought there's got to be an easier way to put something together that these guys can use. And I thought there's probably going to be plenty of other people outside my sphere of influence who would want some information as well. And then there was the absolute massive growth of YouTube for particularly our genre, scale models. And it just became a natural thing. So I spent quite a bit of time doing some research on, what could I do? What could I put together? What value could I add? And I think I found a little niche where look, I'm the new kid on the block. The other two guys have been doing this a lot longer. I can honestly say I've been stalking Clayton's channel for a little while because I'm very interested in Aussies and what we're all up to. And I've got friends who know Greg too, so they put me onto his channel a while ago. Strange, we're not unknowns, guys. One day, Greg, I'm going to have a chat to you about that video you shot with the stunt plane guys, because that was impressive. Well done.
Thanks.
Yeah, so that was my start. It really was just a progression on from stuff I was already doing, looking for another medium that I could do something with that other people might benefit from as well.
Clayton, how did you sort of fall into this morass of locking yourself in once a week to do a video?
Well, first up, I'd actually like to address that I'm actually low-key honoured that I have a stalker. You have to get to a certain point to get that. So I suppose I shouldn't make light of that, but no, it's nice. I got to say that's nice. First up, how did I get into it? Man, it was like a 10-year journey for me. It was something. I always take pride, and I've always enjoyed creating and building something and growing something from start to finish. But I would always stall with taking that leap into video and putting yourself out there just because the time was never right, or the camera was never right, or the lighting was never right, or the confidence was never right. So how did this all start? I don't know. It was just a combination of things, just sort of fell into the right place at the right time. And I had a couple of people encouraging me to do it. And it was just a moment of weakness, I think. And I'll sort of put it behind, I found the courage to actually put myself out there, which had sort of been lacking for so long. But I'd been writing and doing reviews and all that sort of stuff. So that, for such a long time. So the content was always there. It was just having the confidence to put your work out in that public forum.
So, Greg, what about you? How did you come to become a YouTuber?
Well, my modelling goes back way to the late 80s, early 90s. And then about 2000, I kind of got sidetracked with life, so I stopped modelling. And because of the lockdowns that happened a few years ago, I needed something to do. So I picked up modelling again. And that kind of took over. It was just because I had so much time, I just couldn't get enough of modelling again. But I wasn't smart enough to actually start a YouTube channel during the lockdown when the majority of people were on YouTube. After that, that height of people watching, I decided after that I might start a YouTube channel. So I missed that whole wave. So, I kind of, from keeping myself busy, kind of just exploded from there. And I got so hooked on it that I thought, I want to share what I'm doing. So I created my YouTube channel called the Scale Model Geek and started building stuff. And because I knew nothing about YouTube at that stage in the sense of being a creator, there was a lot of mistakes in my early days. But finally, almost 2 years later, it took off. And I'm very grateful for all the supporters.
Stuart, you're the most recent one to start a channel.
Yep.
Let's have a bit of a chat about costings and how much it costs to set you up, what equipment you use, etc., etc.
What can I say? My credit card's melted. No, look, it's the cost to get set up is relatively minor to actually get going. So to set up a channel for YouTube's no cost. You can set up with some video editing software, basically at no cost, like I did, in fact. So I use DaVinci Resolve for my editing. So it's no subscription fees, fantastic program. A lot of it's industry leading, in fact. So very powerful. So really good. So no cost in that. But then obviously you've got the physical hardware. So microphones, be they wireless or fixed, depending on how you record yourself for your channel. So I've got both. So there's probably a cost there of around $600 to $800 to get you started with something decent. And to be honest, that's one of the real key things for a YouTuber is audio quality. You can muck around a bit in post editing with video, but audio recording's got to be really spot on. Otherwise you end up boring people and they don't want to listen to what you're trying to tell them. And then camera stuff, well, we can start with as simple as an iPhone, and I did. In fact, I still use my iPhone 14 for quite a bit of what I do. But if I need dedicated close-up work, I mean, let's face it, we're talking about scale modeling. So I have a digital SLR, a Nikon D3500, and I put a macro lens on that. And the cost for that could be anywhere from a second-hand unit might be just a few $100s upwards. So I know I saw Clayton on one of his recent videos. You've invested in a nice camera, and that's something that I think you progressively do. You certainly don't want to start off doing that. You want to start with as minimal equipment as possible, get yourself in low price point, low barrier to entry, and upgrade predominantly as you go along when you've got a bit of funds or things work out really well. You know, we're all going to be millionaires off doing this, so we're all going to have equipment.
I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Clayton had
No, we don't start YouTube channels to become rich, let's face it.
or podcast channels. I'll give you that tip as well. Clayton, what about yourself with the equipment setup? Tell us about your journey along for that.
My journey, sorry, in terms of equipment and bits and pieces, or
Yep,
sorry, I missed
yep.
that question.
The equipment.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that's the thing that was sort of holding me back for so long of getting into it, because I had this certain expectation of what I was wanting my videos to look like. So, but I'm an all or nothing sort of a guy. So yeah, I did muck about with the iPhone and stuff like that for a time, but was never happy with the result. So that was when I thought, oh, bugger it, I'm just going to go all in, and went for the the digital camera with the macro lens. So I think that and then the lighting system and stuff. I would definitely be $5 or $6 grand knee deep in my equipment that I've got, and that would be editing software and things like that, which isn't and like Stu said, like you can, there are free options for the editing software. So when I say that I've spent all this money on setting stuff up, that's for me. Like, for the people out there listening to this, if you want to do something on YouTube, it's all about managing your expectations about what you think the end result's going to be. So you can take your stuff on your mobile phone, and you can edit on your mobile phone, and you can do all that sort of stuff. But yeah, for me, I just, like I said, I'm just this all or nothing sort of character. So I invested in the whole boom arms for the cameras and the editing software and whatnot. So my entry into this probably didn't need to be as expensive as it was, but it's kind of ended up there. That answered the question.
Thanks, Clayton. Greg.
For me, I started like really, really cheap. I bought my first camera, and to this day I still use it. It's a GoPro 4, and I bought that second-hand off eBay. And I use a ring light above my desk, which is on a type of tripod, and the tripod's connected to my desk, so the ring light shines straight down, so I get a nice even light. And I think I bought this, I can't remember what brand, microphone that's attached to the ring light, which I don't use anymore because I actually add the narration at a later stage. And I still use that setup to this day because it does everything I needed to do. The only difference is, as a fashion photographer, I actually own some pretty whiz-bang cameras. So when I do the final hero videos and the final images, I do spend a bit of time on there, and I use my studio for that, and I've got my flashy lights and all that, and I get some pretty good images at the end of it. With the software, again, because I do photography as a profession, I've got the whole Adobe Creative Suite. So I've got a Premiere in there as well, Adobe Premiere, which I use. And for me, the process is pretty straightforward. I film everything with the GoPro, and then bring it into Premiere, edit it all down, and then at the end of it, I add the narration, which is probably the worst part of it for me. I hate talking, and I'm on a podcast. I just hate the narration a bit. Though I'm getting better at it, it's just not my favourite area. And it's in Premiere when I start fixing everything, putting it all together, and create what I do for Scale Model Geek.
Do you find that there's a difference between the sort of like a ad lib sort of scenario like what we're doing right now, and the sort of like a scripted version of for YouTube?
Yeah, actually, the first bunch of videos, I actually had a script. And I
Right.
found I sounded really robotic. and and like I said, I suck at that. But if you compare some of the early ones to what I'm doing now, I can hear I'm a lot more relaxed. Still not fully comfortable, but hopefully the content is actually winning them over. So, yeah.
Well, the
I
content.
actually resonate with that, Greg. That's I find the narration really, really difficult as well. When I first started, I would just be looking at images on the screen and like trying to be, talking with the images and the screen. And that was so incredibly difficult. I went to the scripted thing, but then it becomes a different kind of difficult because all of a sudden you have to make it sound like it's not scripted. And it's real tricky. So I feel your pain there. It's not easy, the narration, and I've got a tongue tie as well. So
To this day, for an average 20-minute video, it takes me 2 hours to record the narration because I screw up all the time, so I've got to go back and redo it.
Wow.
Yeah, and the great thing about Premiere is you can actually narrate over the video, and then you can stop it, cut it, rearrange it, then add some more narration. So it's really cool to use.
The creative process. So, how do you guys go about sitting down and deciding what you're going to record, and then do you actually, like, if you're going to produce a movie, you'd storyboard the process. So you'd have what you expect to see along the different parts of the movie. Do you just plonk down and start building a model with the camera running and then sort of edit it afterwards? Or do you have deliberate parts where you deliberately sort of focus on a particular part of the build that you're doing?
For me, in the early days...
I think there's a...
Go Simon. Stuart. Go Stuart.
That's not none of those people we're talking.
Yeah, look, we're very passionate about what we do, so we might talk over each other. Sorry, guys. Look, one of the things I think that happens there is it's dependent on the project for me. So there's, broadly speaking, I've got a rough schedule of what I want to produce over, say, the next 6 to 9 months. So I'm working to kind of a set schedule there with a few holes in it for throwing bits and pieces in. But when it comes down to the individual project, it depends on the model that I'm going to work on. So if it's something that's complicated, I'm going to break it down into probably a series of videos where I can throw in tutorial work as well, and then slow that build process down during the video to concentrate on that tutorial section. So if I want to work on a set of full model metal tracks and how I weather those, I'll probably do a complete video on that as a tutorial that somebody can take aside and use as a learning tool, which harks back to partly the reason why I do YouTube. Then if I'm doing something like my current project, and when's this coming out, guys? Because maybe I'm letting the cat out of the bag.
This will be dropping. This will be dropping today.
No, that's okay.
In the trash.
My current project is effectively an out-of-the-box Tamiya Panzer III kit. So it's simplistic in its nature. I'm not doing a lot of upgrade work to it, so I'm not going to feature a lot of close shots with intense work on how I'm doing difficult parts. It's going to be a very basic build. So it's aimed at a different subscriber or a different viewer. And I think for me, that's something I'm very conscious of, being fairly new to YouTube and trying to work out where my position is for all of the work that I want to post up. Occasionally I throw up something different that hits a broader category and see what bounces back.
Clayton, you've been running on a fairly regular sort of drumbeat now. Where do you find the ideas for what your next video is going to be?
I find my build schedule tends to be determined for me to a certain degree in terms of, obviously I do a lot of work with the Modelling News and do a lot of writing for Military Model International. So I find that, I often get offered up kits or stuff, for either review or to build and whatnot. So in saying that, I would say I can say yes or no to these kits as they're offered. Like if there's a new kit comes up and it's offered, I'm like, and I think it's something that I'd like to do. I'll take it on. So that's kind of how the subjects end up on my bench. It hasn't been too clever in terms of planning out. Well, geez, I think that'd be a good video, or that wouldn't be a good video. Like one of the most popular videos I've done is on the Tamiya half track re-release that they did. I picked it up at Hobbyco over Christmas for $35 something, thinking it would just be a quick nostalgic sort of glimpse into the old Tamiya kits. And I thought, well, I don't know if anyone watched this or not, but it went berserk. So that one wasn't planned. That one just kind of evolved, and it was more about just trying to get a video up, to be honest, to get it going. But so the subjects kind of get chosen for me in a way. That's sort of how that works. But just to sort of echo back on that last question you asked about planning out the way that the video runs, because I just wanted a little bit of input on that. I find, obviously, I just record when I'm building and painting. There's that logical process through of making a model. But I find my videos evolve as I'm making them and editing them. Like that's the sort of the process that I take. It sort of evolves along the way in terms of, it'd be good to put, a little bit of history in here, or it'd be good to, do a little bit of, something funny here, or I find that the video evolves in that way. But in terms of my build schedule, I'm 6 to 9 months ahead, and it tends to be kind of planned out, as in, there's a new model coming, let's do that one. There's another model coming, let's do that one.
Do you guys find that you have to sort of hit a particular drumbeat of videos, or do you just put one out whenever you feel like it? What's the process behind, I guess, not only the production rate, but also to a certain degree the sort of the marketing strategy behind what you do? And I might throw to you first, Greg.
Yeah, I kind of originally when I started the channel, I was trying to do a video per week. And I quickly found out that's almost impossible to do, because in that period of time you have to build it as well as edit the video. And as I was saying, my narration takes an awfully long time to get right. So I ended up dropping it down to one every fortnight. And I found that gave me plenty of time, a week and a half in actual building, and then editing, getting it up there. The subjects were really interesting, because when I first started out, I just wanted to build things that I found, I was really interested in. Problem with that, not everyone else is interested in it. My very first build was an old resin kit that I had, which I originally bought in the 90s. This was way before I even took up 3D printing. That was a Terminator. And the second one I did was Batman, and by that stage I'd bought a 3D printer, and that got a few views on there. And I thought, okay, they like figures. So I started building figures. And luckily, I enjoyed building figures. But I think maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 figures in, I started to get bored with figures. So I wanted to do some dioramas, which is what I've actually always built, dioramas in my early days. And I found people had an interest in that. So I thought that was great. And then at that stage, I think it was Moon Knight, the TV series that came out. And I thought, I'm going to jump in there and see if I can take advantage of it. So I built a figure of Moon Knight. I printed it, painted it all up, put it on the channel, and it took off. The video absolutely went through the roof. And before that, I was getting 400 or 500 views. 600 views, and I was all excited. I was ready to retire from photography and take up modeling. I thought that was awesome. And then when Moon Knight video took off, all of a sudden hit 20,000 views. I thought, that's it, I'm divorcing. I'm just going to do this. This is all I'm going to do for the rest of my life. But then the shock of my life happened. The following 2-3 videos just went back to normal. Yeah. And I thought, what's going on here? So I thought, okay, I've got it. And what I did the following videos was I didn't build figures. I built a couple of other things that I wanted to do. I can't remember what they were now. That was 2 years ago. So I thought, okay, I'm going to build another figure. And I think I tied into another movie, and that did nothing. Absolutely did nothing on views. And I kind of was a bit lost there for a while. I didn't know what to build. Then I realised I'm just going to build things that I want to build, and not necessarily cater for any type of fads or anything that's going on. And my views went up, they went down, they were really inconsistent. Then I think the next big one I had was a couple of years ago, the expo. I did a video of it on my iPhone, just walked around, put it together, and that took off as well. They did about 25,000 views or something like that. Then it dropped off again. So I couldn't work out the algorithm at that stage in those days.
Next thing, now you've arrived at, this is the thing with all YouTubers, is that they're always trying to figure out how the algorithm works.
Exactly.
And it's like a mystical creature that bestows blessings on various.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely, there's no way to know how it thinks or processes.
But they keep on changing it as well.
That's right. Yeah.
So you can't totally get on top of it. So it was quite a while before I was finding my feet, and I'll have some great responses. And I was averaging about maybe 1,500 per views per video, and my views were slowly going up. My subs were slowly going up. Then October, I think it was last year. So we're talking almost 2 years that I started the channel. And October, I put up this diorama of this tugboat that I converted into a big four-wheel drive type vehicle. And that went through the roof. I think presently it's about up to 100 and... Oh, maybe no, I think it's about 160,000, somewhere like that. I thought, okay, I love doing these post-apocalyptic themes, and so does the crowd. I thought, this is awesome. We can both be happy. So the next one I did was the tram, the Soviet tram from I think it was the late 30s. And I converted that into like a post-apocalyptic research vessel, and that just went through the roof. Absolutely just went bonkers. I think it's up to about 160,000 views. And that did really, really well, and the momentum started. Then all of a sudden, all these subs start appearing. I'm getting, 300-400 people per video, new subscribers. Nice. And I thought that was fantastic. And once that momentum happens, the algorithm picks them up, and then it creates this awareness for the channel. And after researching so many of how to create videos, they always say it's always that one video that gets you noticed. Mine was like 2. It took 2. but we got there, yes.
Stuart, you hear that? That's the new kid on the block.
Right, I'm the new kid on the block.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I want to touch on a couple of things that Greg said there, because they're really key to being a successful creator on YouTube. But listen to me, the new kid on the block, talking about being successful. It's pretty clear that none of us are ever going to understand the algorithm for YouTube. I don't even believe Google understands how it works, to be perfectly honest. I think it's all just a bit of a hodgepodge sometimes. But the key thing that does happen that everybody seems to talk about is it's not so much the content that you put out. That needs to be relevant for people to want to watch, of course. That's probably a given. But it's having a regular schedule, sticking to it, because people want to come on board and see everything that you do. Don't chase the numbers. So even if you look at the best channels in scale modeling, if you look at Martin Kovach's channel, we all know Uncle Night Shift, his videos run from anything from 70,000 views at the worst. I hate him for that, by the way, to over 1 million, and there's a massive scale there that they'll drop into. So you can't try and design a piece of content chasing the numbers. I think you just have to be true to yourself. If you're starting a channel for a particular reason and you want to put content out of a certain nature, keep doing that, because you'll find subscribers who will come along that are passionate about it as much as you are. It mightn't happen quickly. In fact, it's not going to happen quickly. I mean, my channel's been up and running since Christmas. So a little over 3 months. I've got near enough 650 subscribers. Now, that's not a large number. It's a small number. But for somebody who's been running for 3 months, that's a pretty solid number. It doesn't mean that I'm any better or worse than anyone else, but that's just the way it goes. What you need to chase is views, if anything else. You want something that's going to keep people on your channel, because this is going to be a long conversation if I go down this track too, by the way. you need to have something that somebody's going to be interested enough to click on and stay watching for longer than 30 seconds. So that's how you grow a channel.
I think a big part of that is presentation.
Yeah. I guess you talk about marketing in general and the way that people try to drive their business. It's about attention, and it's about retaining that attention. And that's certainly what being a content creator is about, whether you're doing a podcast or a YouTube channel or whatever. If you can't remain relevant to the people you're broadcasting to, bye-bye, I suppose. But
I mean, as content creators, we don't want to feel like we're just throwing content out into the void and no one cares about it. We do have to look at, what kind of reception it's getting and sort of use it as a scale on which to improve ourselves.
Yeah. I think YouTube's analytics are fantastic. They're a great tool for creators to use. You can see who's watching your channel, how long they're staying there. Are they returning subscribers that have been watching your content and coming back again, through what means they find you. There's a lot of detail in that if you want to search through it and find out just how you're contacting people and how they're coming back to your channel. It doesn't drive me and the content I want to look at, but I do look at it weekly just to see what's going on. I can tell you what my average subscriber is, where they live, what age group they fit in and everything. But at the end of the day, as I say, I want to remain true to the content I want to put out there and just keep people entertained and hopefully provide them something entertaining.
That's exactly right.
It's definitely a real trap when you start a channel is looking at those analytics, and obviously Stuart's done his homework here because everything he's saying about what's there, and it's really quite addictive, and it's hard not to look at that when you're starting. And it's really easy to get juiced and inspired when you look at it, but it's also, on the opposite side of that, it can be really deflating. And especially when you put your heart and soul into something, you think this is going to be great, and then all of a sudden no one watches it, and it's there's a real trap in chasing that. And I think both these guys sort of touched on that. It's and it does go back to you literally just have to do what makes you happy as a hobbyist and a scale modeler. And if you're passionate about it, people are going to come along, for the ride with you. It's one of those, that bittersweet thing about doing this YouTube thing when you bring a hobby into this forum and you're trying to build it, and it's that balance of not trying to chase those numbers too hard and trying to keep true to yourself.
That's some great points there, Clayton. But you also, that's leading me on to the next part, is that it's you're really putting yourself out there into the public when you do a YouTube more so than a podcast, because it's a visual medium as well. And the other thing about YouTube as well, anybody who sort of logs into YouTube, they can see the comments underneath as well. So it must be a tad disheartening sometimes to see all those publicly displayed comments that sort of come up that aren't positive or indeed just downright negative.
I've actually been pretty lucky with that. I've had a few, just some absolute shockers, but that's just the nature of being in this environment we're in. But I'm always touched, and it gives me so much joy with how willing some people are to connect with you and share their stories and just want to be part of the journey. It's been, I know when like when I show my wife, I'm like, look at this one, and she's blown away by how deeply some people are willing to share and connect with you on that forum, and it's been really touching, and it's been something I really wasn't expecting in that thing. So I know you were talking about the negativity and the exposure, which really affected me early on the journey, but now I realize that when you start getting friction like that, to me it's a sign of progress, and sometimes people just want to throw those grenades at you to try and pull you down a peg. So I think when we focus on more of the positivity and the connection, it's it is a rewarding thing, and it's just been something blown me away.
Haters gonna hate.
Well, they are, but and I guess we're a little bit lucky with the podcast because we haven't got our ugly mugs up on the screen so everybody can see.
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that because on, say, for example, Instagram, it's also a visual medium, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of content, a lot of people. It's very easy to make like 3-second thing that just gets thrown up there. And a lot of people, a lot of creators are fairly insecure, right? And to the point where I've noticed that there are some people out there who will wear gloves specifically to hide their hands.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What are they hiding their hands for?
Well, I mean, that's my sort of thought process. But then, like, one day you'll see a creator and they'll have, like, extremely hairy hands, or perhaps they have really yellow fingernails and so you can see all the stuff trapped underneath them and stuff like that. And you're like, oh.
So you've seen my videos then?
Well, we all dabble with paint. So, I mean, it's almost like, it's like, oh, if your nails are too clean, doesn't that mean that you're not doing anything?
As I mentioned earlier, I'm a fashion photographer, and I've posted my images on a lot of groups, and those people are really, really nasty with their comments. Where I found the scale modelers are really supportive. They've been really good. I think out of all my videos, I've maybe 4 or 5 negative comments, which has been really good. Otherwise, they are really good.
Well,
the community is fantastic.
I think a lot of that comes down to they know what goes into a build, and I think anybody who's ever photographed their own models knows, like, flaws that you didn't know were there suddenly become glaringly obvious.
Or maybe I'm just rubbish at photography and better at scale modelling.
And we're all our own worst critic, right?
Yeah.
True.
And to pick up on your point, Greg, I mean, we've over 650,000 downloads now, and I think we've only had about 2, bad apples out of all those downloads. So, that just goes to show how much of a welcoming sort of hobby it is that we're in.
Supportive.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. 100%.
And it's nice that you've been willing to have us back on the show, Dave.
Well, you know what? I sort of and ahed about it, Clayton.
Hey, this is my first time. I have no idea what's going to happen after this one.
Oh, gee. So let's have a quick chat now about how important YouTubing is to the hobby, because I think that
that's a good one.
Because it's so sort of ubiquitous and sort of in our faces and all the time, we're losing sight of how important and powerful YouTube is to the hobby. And I just want to sort of start this with an opening statement, is that somebody starting the hobby today can go to a YouTube channel, have a look at a decent kit to build and buy, or to buy and build, have a look at the paints, how to actually do the paints, and can go from a really zero mediocre brand new modeler to a halfway decent modeler in the space of just a couple of months, really.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
Yep.
It's
Maybe a can of worms do we want to open here? Because this is one of those interesting conversations in the hobby at the moment, isn't it? It's, following one particular famous scale modeler's post after an event in Europe last year. I think we'll know who
Name names, Stu. Name names.
No, please, not on my podcast. No.
I don't know. I'm kind of good friends with Mike Rinaldi now, so maybe I don't want to. Oh, too bad I've mentioned his name. Sorry, Mike. It's an interesting thing that YouTube has had the effect of, the high tide has floated all the boats, and the level of skill out there has climbed astronomically. I think that's a fantastic thing for the hobby. I think YouTube is doing great things for scale modeling as a hobby, as well as other hobbies, to be honest, but let's focus on scale modeling. I think it's great. I think there's people out there, content creators, who are sharing their skills and featuring not only their work, but the work of other people, which personally I find fantastic. I think we should be building a strong community by featuring everybody's work. But the net result is we've come so far in such a very short period of time. I can honestly say that 4 years ago, at the start of COVID, 4 years? Feels longer. 4 or 5 years ago, I think people I was assisting with doing modelling, their skill level has come so far since then, because not only can I do work with them, I can direct them to other creators on YouTube and say, please go and look at this particular video, or go and look at this creator. They've dumped a lot of content on YouTube and it's fantastic for teaching people. And the net result is, as I said, the skill level is so high now. If you go to a competition and look at the models that are being put down on tables, they are so much, I'm not going to say better, there's so much more effort being put into them that it's absolutely noticeable. Even looking at the 48 and 48 build, Ian, I was watching the work that some of the guys were doing on that overseas, thinking, this is amazing. Like, pictures being posted up on the website for Models for Heroes, I was looking at work that people were posting and going, you wouldn't have seen that 6 or 7 years ago. Not to that degree.
Yeah, I mean, it's like all the sort of the whole YouTube space in general has sort of lifted the skill level of everyone significantly. And I think it's also sort of promoted lots of, tiny, obscure techniques that people wouldn't have heard about in the past. Like if you think about the pre-sort of YouTube era, where it was mostly just magazines, right? Everyone tended to build the same way. Everyone was, in that sort of future full polish, Tamiya, formulaic version of modeling. But now it's sort of like, okay, now there's 3D printing. Now people are using bare metal foil. People are doing chipping, hairspray chipping, and all these techniques. Like everyone's sort of almost scrambling to find new ways to do things.
Is it too soon to suggest Julian probably should have gone onto YouTube for his Musaru Cup build? Too soon?
Look, I didn't need to put like my disdain for that kit on display for everyone to see, right? Yeah. I can hate that in private.
Look, Julian, I totally agree. In the early days when I was building in the 80s and 90s, we were very limited with type of information. It was, within your club, all the techniques you learned, and also magazines. Mm-hmm. Magazines are nothing like videos, obviously.
No.
So when I stopped in around 2000 and picked it up again, and I started watching other people's videos, I couldn't believe what was out there. It was a completely different hobby. Once you drop it for 20 years, you come back. The techniques are so expansive, so many new techniques, so many new types of paints. I mean, we have contrast paints now. We also have different types of weathering pencils. Mm-hmm. We didn't have any of that in the 80s and 90s. So for me, it was back to square one again. And on one hand, I was loving learning all these new techniques. Secondly, on the negative side, I'm behind everybody by 20 years.
So having said that YouTube creates such a high bar, do you guys find that puts some subconscious pressure on you in what you're delivering to maintain that standard?
Oh, that's a spicy question.
I think there's a danger in the beginner going into YouTube and this whole expectation thing as well. Like I see on Facebook and stuff, and clearly a beginner posts a photograph of their model, and it's obvious that they're a beginner. And then someone will say in the comments, go and check out Night Shift, which is great. I mean, he's obviously the pinnacle, right? What he's producing. But if you're a beginner going in and watching what this guy is doing, thinking that you're going to be able to do that, with your next model, you're dreaming. I mean, you're setting yourself up for failure. Which kind of ties back into to answer the question that you just asked in terms of pressure. When I make my videos, I mean, obviously I try to model to a high standard, but I try to explain my techniques so that if you were a beginner, it might, help unlock or help you understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I don't think personally I feel pressure, but I feel a responsibility maybe to make the content somewhat accessible to every skill level where I can, but obviously still I'm happy with.
And to that point, and I've congratulated you publicly in the past before because of this, but and and again, I'll mention it again, you had a particular dog of a kit that you built. And you also, in your videos, Clayton, you're not afraid to sort of show the mistakes as well. And I think that is just as important as showing a wonderful, completed, fully polished model in the end. Because without people, that's how we as humans learn, and indeed as modelers we learn. We learn through the mistakes when we're building. And if all of these YouTube content people and Instagram people, I think Instagram is perhaps one of the worst of it, don't show the mistakes, just show this from zero to finish in this wonderful model that you can do. If you don't show the mistakes that happen along the way, then the audience you're reaching out to doesn't have the capacity to learn. Even as seasoned modelers such as Ian, Julian, and myself, when watching a YouTube, if you've purchased the same kit, and if the YouTuber doesn't show a particular pitfall in the construction of that kit, then we're going to do the same again, the same pitfall. However, if the YouTuber identifies, hey, whoops, found a mistake or an issue with this particular kit, and here it is, and I'll show you how I got around it, then that's a lot more informative, educational at the same time for me as a modeler than perhaps just a straight, here's a model and here's what I did at the end and how I got there.
That's an interesting point, because, I mean, a big part of this hobby is overcoming problems, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I kind of look at this very, very differently, because I think that first and foremost in a video is to engage your viewer and also entertain them.
Yeah.
And I'll use a couple of examples. There's like you mentioned, Night Shift, which he makes amazing kits, super detailed. Another one, Laser Cut Creation or something like that. Yeah,
from Germany.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. The detail's just amazing.
His painting method blows me away.
Yeah.
I've never seen anyone use so much water
yeah.
when they're laying paint down.
The quality is absolutely stunning. And they're big.
Boyle Hobby Time.
Yeah.
There's another one.
Now, on the other hand, because I think entertainment is so crucial to the video, there's a couple other channels which are huge, but the quality of their work isn't as good as compared to Night Shift. But their videos are very engaging. Mm-hmm. You watch them, and if you compare it, if I saw that in real life, I'd go, okay, maybe that's a 5 out of 10. Mm. But the videos, I'd give a 10 out of 10.
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, right. Because you sit down and you're just drawn into the build, because the way they're presented, the story that they tell. And that to me is so crucial. And that's where I'm trying to find a balance. I'm trying to improve my presentation and still keep a standard of work. Like I said, for good examples, one particular channel just started over a year ago. They went from 0 to over 76,000 subs in just, like I said, in just over a year, because his videos are so good to watch.
No, yeah.
Yeah. His quality of work, like I said, 5 out of 10, but I don't care, because I just love watching the videos. Yeah. They're really good.
Clayton, I think you were trying to cut in, and it's pretty hard with so many people here.
Yeah, I mean, this is the nature of like Zoom meetings, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm just looking for an opportunity for a cheap laugh, really. I was going to say, if I didn't include my mistakes, that would be half my content gone.
Well, I mean, a big part of this podcast is Dave making mistakes or reading things out, trying to mispronounce everything.
Yeah.
It raises an interesting point, though, because YouTube is essentially a medium of compromise. If I want to sit down and build a competition build and then film it and put it on YouTube, I'll get no one watch it. It'll be as boring as sin, because I find that one of the things that you need to do is you could build a better model than you are for the YouTube stuff that we create. You have to compromise time and technique and your presentation. And Greg's raised that. It's all about presentation. If you're not presenting something which is truly interesting, nobody's going to watch what you're doing. So therein lies the dilemma. How good a model are you trying to make? Or are you using it as a means to showcase other things that are going to be interesting for your viewers?
Yeah.
So I find the opposite of that. I find there's pressure to do something better than I maybe would if I was just building for myself.
Well, see, that's the thing, right? There's room for any number of different approaches, because like there's always going to be different people who look for different things in videos, right? We all have sort of we'll find like a channel that speaks to us and our sort of different set of values and interests. I mean,
oh yeah, absolutely. And if all three of us, Julian, were doing exactly the same thing, you wouldn't have all three of us on the podcast at the moment. You'd only need to talk to one of us.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Yeah,
exactly.
But I mean, to some degree, it's all on a universal scale of how many views we get and all that sort of thing. And there's a temptation to sort of go, okay, well, that guy's the biggest dog in the house. I'm gonna follow exactly what he does to try and get his views. But I mean, he may only be top dog today, but he may not be tomorrow because people will have lost interest in it or something, right?
Or someone new comes along.
All I'm saying is that there's like a universal scale, and then there's also this like undulating landscape where there's room for everyone, and you just got to find your own brand to work at.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I totally agree with you there. I mean, the other thing that goes is all three of us here that are sitting as YouTube creators, we all build models in a different way. And there is many different ways of presenting something. You can look at, well, we've already spoken about Martin. Night shifts models have a particular style, and that's certainly been copied through, what work other people are doing. So he's got a lot of influence. I'm a different modeler, so I look at realism is what drives me. I mean, I used to drive around in armoured vehicles in a different work life previously, so I have a different perspective on what I think they should look like. Clayton, I'm sure, has a different perspective on what he's trying to achieve, and so would Greg. So if we're all trying to create the same content, what a boring life that would be. Nobody'd want to watch YouTube any longer.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You realise you're building a paper panzer, right, Stuart?
Sorry?
You're building a paper panzer, aren't you?
Yeah, I've just completed that E60.
It's got about realism when you're building bloody
see, I'm just chasing the cheap jokes as well here. The truth is that hit
That's
for
my
me.
material, mate.
Yeah, we provide our own material. It just writes itself sometimes. That kit was a great example of what a YouTube watcher is probably going to want to see to some degree. That kit was a bit of a dog to put together, to be perfectly honest. It needed a lot of work in the construction phase to fix some issues with it, and they're well-known issues, which is, honestly, it's why I picked that kit, because I've seen some other people build it and really struggle with it. I also had some problems when I did the paint. The air pressure valve on my regulator went, so it started over-pressurizing and spitting paint out, so I had to show that. What I also did was I used VMS Clean Slate to completely clean the turret back, to wipe it clean. I didn't show that on the video, so my bad. But there you go, cat's out of the bag now. Everybody will probably know that. And I wish I actually had shown that, because, again, that's another one of those things where how do you recover from a really bad situation? Yeah. Sometimes you've got to scrub it back and start again.
Oh, I've got a good one.
I agree with Dave. That might have helped with your Musaru Cup entry. I'm not sure, Julian. Probably talk about that later.
One thing that I've often thought is, in this moment of watching this creator do something, are they at all concerned with being criticized for discovering that they're the only one who does things a different way, in a bad way? Like if you're saying... I'm going to answer
that by saying, in my professional life, I've been a sales manager for 30 years. I'm really good at rejection and people telling me I'm good.
But I mean, like,
honestly,
like for example, imagine you've been modeling and you've started your YouTube channel, and then after you've read the comments, you realize you're the only one who holds the paintbrush like it's a fist, right? Like you're holding, like you're brandishing a fist, and you just like a child would, hold a paintbrush, and for some reason you never grew out of it, and then suddenly, oh crap, I'm very self-conscious about my way of doing things, and that's something that plays in my mind a lot, Yeah,
I'm probably more concerned personally about making sure my fingernails are clean than the way I'm holding them.
I mean, to some degree, like there's some things I don't care about. Like, for example, it's considered a bit barbaric to mix your paint in the cup of the airbrush, right? You're supposed to mix it outside of it, but I just don't care. I don't care. And I know I could probably produce better models if I did mix it in a separate container and then pour it in. But, just laziness wins out.
The lazy modeler. So, gents, if we're going to talk about YouTube, I guess the other sort of elephant in the room we need to sort of have a discussion about is if people are starting out thinking that they're going to make a living out of doing YouTube. Let's talk realism now. So, what do you guys get paid for doing your YouTube channels, if you don't mind sharing? I'll start with you, Greg.
Oh, thanks. $1.95 I think I got the last year. No, seriously. Just briefly back onto the algorithms. It's when you first start out, it's very disheartening because you get 10 views, 20 views, 100 views, and you kind of go, oh, what am I doing this for, Am I doing it for myself? Am I trying to make a living out of it? For me, it was never about making a living out of it. For me, it was just to share, my little journey of taking up modelling again. And I thought it'll be great. I mean, I know how to edit and I know how to do all those type of things. Why don't I just put it up there? So I started out, and one of the things you've always got to do is persist with it. Really focus and try and stay true to yourself, as some of the guys were saying earlier, but also really persist with it, because the algorithm can sometimes reward you months down the track. Yep. Now, I mentioned those 2 videos that went viral that started to get me noticed, but then I think it was December last year, I had a video of a Revell big boy train that I built. And it was an old rusty train that sitting at the side of the tracks, and some people were walking past, and yes, there were some zombie cows in there as well, okay, because I do sci-fi and fantasy. And for some reason, the algorithm picked that up again. And we're talking, I think that went up about March. So, what is it, 9 months later, whatever, picked it up again, and it just went through the roof. And I think by December it had about 15,000 views. It's up to 340,000 views now.
Cool.
So it just absolutely went ballistic. And just recently, February, I had the Colonial Viper from Battlestar Galactica. That's been picked up. I think we're up to maybe about 60,000 now views on that, and that's an older one as well. That was from May last year.
Does it tell you how much money you've made off one video?
Yes, it does. That's how the algorithm works. I look at the algorithms all the time, the stats in the back office all the time. For instance, the train one took off in Vietnam, of all places. That's where the majority of the viewers came from.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it tells you also the retention rate, how much of the video they watch. I average about 7 minutes per video, which is apparently standard. And now, for argument's sake, the one with the tug, what was that? 140,000? I can't remember. Fact check me, and I get onto my YouTube channel and have a look. But one of those videos netted me $1,200 just from that one video.
Okay.
Right. Now, if I compare it to the choo-choo train, I shouldn't call it choo-choo train because it's not a choo-choo train apparently. It's a locomotive.
Yes.
That was one of the criticisms I got. It's not a train. Something like that, the retention rate was really low on it. It was just under 2 minutes. In the year that it's been up, I think I've made about $400 on that particular video, even though it's done 320, 50,000, whatever it is.
Yeah, okay.
Because of the retention rate. And that's where, when I'm comparing myself to somebody like Boylai, Hobby Time, or even Gamey Builds, where the videos are super interesting, they'll have a great retention rate. They'll get 500,000 views, so they'll be making gazillion dollars out of it.
Yeah, so, I get you.
And one thing a lot of people forget is those videos are online, which means people are constantly watching it. So you get some passive income coming from those videos as well. It might drop on the bell curve, but it's still generating an income. So the more videos you have, the more generation of money you get. Now, for instance, I think it was January because I was on holidays. I didn't put up a single video during that whole month, but I still made, I think, about $600 because of my other videos. Can you make a living out of it? Yes, of course you can. Millions of people do. But again, millions of people have failed because they haven't stuck to it.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
And it seems really inconsistent, right?
It
You've
is.
got to ride the highs and lows.
Yeah, it's right. As long as you're very patient and you're very, very aware that you're going to get some videos that die, don't give up. Keep going. Do what you know, where you want to go, and just keep at it.
Clayton, Clayton, I know that you weren't in it to sort of have it as a living or a sideline or anything like that, but just out of interest, do you care to share sort of what your experience has been in the revenue side of things?
Good. I know. Everything Greg said it was spot on, and how YouTube pay. They pay per 1,000 views, right? And there's this scale. Like gaming videos might be like $1 per. Like they're very low. You know, people that just stream their games, their walkthroughs and all sorts of stuff, are generally pretty low. Finance and money videos might earn $30 per 1,000 views, and then YouTube take their cut, whatever. Us in this hobby world is generally around that sort of $12 to $13 per 1,000 views. Then YouTube take their cut. So I mean, you guys can do, and their cut is significant. So you guys can do the maths. You need to have a certain number of subscribers and watch hours in order to partner with YouTube. And then you can, share in the revenue, and the advertisers will pay different amounts to be part of different videos. So how have I found it? I've found trying to monetize the channel and the hoops you had to go through with the forms and the tax forms and things like that was I just hate that side of stuff. But it was like once I jumped through that hoop, it wasn't so bad. But no, it's good. I mean, it's definite stream of income coming, but you just have to keep stoking the fire. Like I noticed, like if you don't get decent views on videos for a few weeks, you just watch everything dip. So can you make a living off YouTube? You definitely can make a living off YouTube, but it wouldn't be a great one. So you need to leverage your community and things like, outside things, whether that be, you can do memberships through YouTube, or there's obviously the Patreon side of things as well, where people can, sign up and help support your channel and help support the content. Which, like incidentally, I just started that last week, and thank you to my people who have come on board. No, look, it's good. I mean, there's definite reward when you put all that effort and all that time into something to see something come back. And it's never been about the money for me. It's just been about trying to justify the time I'm spending on it as well. And to see that starting to come back, and to see that I've been working towards something and it's hit that point is extremely rewarding. And it's actually really exciting as well.
One of the things that totally got me by surprise was when my channel started taking off. I jumped from, I think it was about 3,500 and up to about 15, just under 15,000 now in about 6 months, was the sponsorships. All of a sudden that came out of nowhere. And I think it's because my video started averaging about 10,000 per video, 10,000 views. And all of a sudden these people come out and saying, I've got this product, I'd love you to have a look at it. Would you like to put it in your video? And I've had people like Skillshare. I just recently did a video for Elegoo, the Mars 4, which they sent to me, which was absolutely fantastic.
Which is a 3D printer for those who don't know it.
Yeah, 3D printer, plus they sent me the washer and curing machine.
Oh, wow.
And a few months ago I had Creality. They sent me their laser cutter for review. So I did that, and when I said yes straight away. I didn't know how I was going to incorporate that into my builds, but I'm not going to say no to a laser cutter. And it turned out to be fantastic. There's so many things I could use it for my hobby now. Is a laser cutter, useful for a general Joe Blow in your hobby? Probably not. But I got one for free, so I was happy. And then I get people also from Temu, is it? That Wish type?
Oh, yeah. Temu, yeah.
And I look and I think, how do I incorporate that in my channel? I can't. So there's a few I reject. Like I said, the printer, and I've had, lightsabers, a company that makes lightsabers. They want to send me one as well. And then all of a sudden that becomes another income. Like I said, I've got Skillshare. I've got
But were these people offering you these products to sort of put on your show and test? Is there an expectation there that you have to be unbiased when you're testing it, or have to be biased when you're actually showing
they
it?
not once to this day have said, these are the things that, how can I say it?
There's no terms and
Yeah,
conditions.
trying to convince me, push me.
Yep.
Anyway, they've sent me the items and they've given me points that they want, talked about, some of the features, and that's it. Another way that they do it is the World of Warships game that's been out.
Yeah.
They've approached me, and I've got a diorama that I've been building of a trawling ship, and that's going to be a post-apocalyptic scene as well. And that just happened to coincide with that ship. So I'm going to do it. But they had a different incentive program. They said they'll basically give me $200 US for a 45-second ad, and if you get over 15,000 views, we'll give you another 150 US.
Okay.
So, and all of a sudden I'm going, okay, this is another income altogether that I didn't apply for. But the problem
Guys,
is...
we're going to start talking about shipbuilding a lot more.
That's not.
Yeah. But the
While
problem
we're on the
is...
subject of sponsorships and the like, I just like to say I don't currently have any sponsorships.
I'll sponsor you.
I'm your man.
Yeah. So, when that stuff comes out of the woodwork, all of a sudden, like for April, I need to do 4 videos somehow to get all these sponsors in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this Sunday I've got the review of the Elegoo printer coming out. Next, the following week, I've got the ship, which is lucky I've already built that. The following after that, I have to do something for Skillshare, and I've got to figure out, okay, how do I make it fit my video? Lucky Skillshare do a course in 3D rendering and things like that. So I can do a 3D print.
Right.
And I use Blender anyway, so I'll do something like that.
This is where like the sort of flexibility of your subject matter on your videos works in favor of those sort of things.
I disagree, actually. I think what it does, you get money hungry, all of a sudden you go, I've got these sponsors, I want it, I'm going to take their money. Then all of a sudden you're thinking, how do I justify having this ad?
Yeah.
And like I said, lucky Skillshare have that system where I can incorporate a video. But the people that want to send me the lightsaber, what do I do with that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it's one of those sort of balancing acts where you've got to sort of say no to certain things because it'll compromise the nature of what you're making, and then people will turn off and won't watch you, right?
Yeah, exactly. You get excited because all of a sudden these people come out of the woodwork, and on the other hand, you go, oh my God, what have I got myself into?
All right, so bringing this on home, and I might throw to Stuart first of all, to sort of for any sort of finishing comments or final comments.
Look, I guess people who are interested in what we're talking about here are probably going to have a very quick question, and that would be, what do I have to do if I want to start a YouTube channel myself? And I'm just going to say, run at it. Have a crack. Go and do some research. I probably researched what YouTube was about and all the things we've discussed today for 4 or 5 months before I actually generated my first video. Have a go. At the end of the day, if you think you've got a niche that you want to have a crack at, get out there and do it. Use any unfair advantage you've got. So I'm going to talk about the other 2 guys here for a second. Greg's got a fantastic background with his photography, and I think he understands production really well, and that's great. His channel's fantastic. And Clayton, mate, I've seen the stuff you make because of what you do with your business. That last video you did with the vignette, the things that you can print and incorporate in your work, fantastic. I don't have either of those, so I'm at a slight disadvantage there, and that's where I say, if you have an unfair advantage, have a go at it and put it into what you're doing. You can't lose. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, at worst, you're going to subsidize some of your models, right?
Yeah, exactly. While the other 2 boys were talking, I was there dialing in, checking my Swiss bank account to see my earnings, but pretty poor.
Clayton, over to you.
Look, I guess if people are out there thinking about taking a dive into YouTube, exactly what Stuart said. have a go, but just manage expectations. Like, it's one thing to, for the people who are listening here and hearing about earning money and things, it's friggin' hard work to get to that point, I've got to tell you, and it's constant work. It's not that it's hard, it's just you need to commit, and you need to commit for years. I'm not talking, it's easy to fall in that trap of putting video up and wondering why you're not, hitting your thresholds or your markers when you're 3 or 6 months in, and you think you've produced this incredible model and no one's watching. And if you're going to go into the YouTube world, just set your realistic expectations and just be ready for it mentally, because it's a slog. It's a rewarding slog, but it's a slog. Go in for the right reasons and you can't go wrong.
And Greg, final thoughts.
Look, it's persistence, dedication, and don't give up. I think that's the biggest one. Don't give up. If you've got some shitty views on there, don't give up, because there's always going to be someone out there that's going to find your stuff interesting. And if you don't think your skill level's there, don't worry about that either. Just make your content entertaining. Make people want to watch it.
That's right.
Yeah, and people will come back.
That's what this podcast is all about.
Yeah. Because you'll find if you're funny on your video and you make a really shitty little car model, because car models are rubbish. If your video is entertaining, people will come back and you'll grow. And don't let anyone say you can't do it.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for a very thought-provoking and interesting conversation. And Stuart, where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube, surprisingly, Black Hat Scale Models. You can find me on Instagram at Black Hat Scale Models and on Facebook at Black Hat Scale Models.
Clayton, where can our listeners find you?
Yeah, Facebook and YouTube. Obviously, YouTube is the one I'm plugging. Workbench Hobbies is my handle.
No worries, thanks. And Greg?
On YouTube, it's Scale Model Geek. On Instagram, it's Scale Model_Geek.
Gentlemen, thanks very much. And no doubt we'll be catching up again for another conversation at some point down the track. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, fellas.
All right, that was a fantastic discussion and conversation.
It really was,
with,
wasn't it?
Stuart, Clayton, and Greg. Very informative. And, I just haven't got the time to devote to doing YouTube. It just seems such a...
Yeah, you have to actually be...
focused?
Well, I mean...
that. Focused. Very good.
Well done. It's painful, but it's well done. What I would have... it wasn't my place to say because I'm not a YouTuber, right? Yeah. But I mean... Oh, see, now I've forgotten what the point. What
I don't know.
You just jumped in.
Sorry, I remember now. The thing is, like, on one hand you've got the scale modeling aspect, and the other you got the filming and editing aspect,
yes.
and that you have to be a fan of that aspect too. Otherwise, you're just going to find it incredibly laborious and unfulfilling.
Yes, I understand what you mean. Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like a combination of two hobbies, really.
That's right.
Very true.
All right, gents, before we sign off, don't forget there's a range of other fantastic podcasts out there for your listening pleasure. Simply go online and type in modelpodcasts.com. This is a collaborative site which is run by Stuart from the Scale Model Podcast in Canada. And this is where we put all of our podcasts, so you can just go and choose one that suits you. But we obviously recommend you listen to all of them because they're all fantastic podcasts. Again, thank you for listening. And
before we go,
yes.
I've got to make an apology to the guys from Plastic Model Mojo.
Yeah,
because we were talking about they're doing their coasters.
Oh, yeah.
I accidentally called them under a different podcast name. My apologies, gentlemen. Won't happen again.
What did you call them under?
We'll just leave it at that.
All right.
But my apologies. But they're sending me now a new coaster.
Well, I could pick it up when I'm over there.
Well, that's what I suggested, but apparently postage is not worth anything, so they're just going to send it to me.
Oh, very nice.
Since mine's worn out now.
Yeah. All right, thanks very much. That's it from us. We'll
Adios.
be back in a fortnight.
See ya.